allegedly in Denver, where the Nuggets just forced a game seven with a huge second half. Was actually like a huge second half in last, 4 minutes of the second quarter, which the Thunder could be regretting for a while.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we could talk about Julian Strawther. This is the Julian Strawther game. We could talk about a lot of other things. This game was lost by the Thunder and won by the Nuggets in the final moments of the second quarter. Shai Alexander gets his fourth foul. They give up a 12-0 run. The Thunder were up 12, closing minutes of the half. They had a chance, as McMahon said in our group chat, to keep their foot on the throat of Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Instead, they let them off the mat, and you cannot give a team like this and a player like that, even though he didn't have a typically dominant Jokic-like performance, you can't give a championship team like this that kind of, I mean, I say that and he ended up with, 29, 14, and 8, Jokic. But, you can't let a team like this get back in the game when you have a chance to put them away on the road in a game like this. And Lou Dort hit a shot right at the end of the half. They were going up 3, think, oh, maybe that'll give them some momentum. But the Thunder just felt like they were climbing uphill from then on. And like you said, if they lose game 7 at home, those final couple of minutes of the second quarter are going to be bouncing around the heads of the Thunder and the rest of their org and their fans for a long time.
Yeah. So there were a couple of big themes in this game beyond what you just talked about there in the second quarter. But the Nuggets are like crawling through the desert looking for an oasis of help from a bench player. The last 2 games, I think they had been outscored by 37 points on the bench. And so Julian Strawther hits 4 baskets in the second half. And it felt like 7 baskets or 12 baskets because they just haven't gotten any help at all. Peyton Watson still didn't play very well in this game. Westbrook was, not horrible, but he had like more turnovers than baskets. He
wasn't good.
Yeah.
He wasn't good.
But just getting that couple of relief possessions from Strawther. He was very aggressive, looking for his shot and everything. He scored 15 points, I think, all in the second half. It makes such a huge difference. It makes such a huge difference for the Nuggets, and you absolutely cannot count on it. But it just shows you how much it would make a difference if they had literally just one more reliable bench player. And
yep.
But that's what they needed in this game. They needed someone like that to help them. And then the other thing, and this has been something you've been talking about for a year, Jalen Williams. He's an all-star. He's an all-NBA candidate. He can do a lot of great things. He plays at both ends, et cetera, but they rely on him a lot to provide secondary scoring.
Well, look, here's the brass tacks of it. For the series, he's shooting 33.7%. That's not acceptable. Last 3 games of the series, even though they won the last 2, 2 for 13, 5 for 14, 3 for 16, a combined 2 for 14 from 3, including 0 for 4 in this game. Like,
he was also 0 for 1 from 1 foot. In the fourth quarter, he missed an absolutely uncontested layup.
He missed an uncontested dunk. He missed a wide open 3 that could have got him to 6 with about a minute 45 to play.
That was a big shot. They were trying to value the Nuggets turned the ball over like 3 times in a row, and they were making a valiant comeback.
If he hits that shot, maybe they have a chance. But I mean, Jalen Williams is 10 for 43 in his last 3 games, and he's 2 for 14 from 3. This is a guy, like you said, that was a deserving all-star. He's going to be a deserving All-NBA selection, almost certainly. But the question around the Thunder the entire season was, could Jalen Williams be good enough in these moments to be the secondary scorer these guys need? He was phenomenal in Game 3. He had the 32 points in the game they blew, and he has been terrible ever since. And look, he's a young player. He's still growing. He's going to have a great career. He's already had a great career so far. This is a massive moment for him in particular on Sunday in this Game 7. Can he step up at home? and have a big game. So if the Thunder are going to win that game, yes, he hit the big shot late in game 5. He obviously is an excellent defensive player. He can help in a lot of other ways. The Thunder are probably going to need Jalen Williams to be better than 27% from the field and 14% from 3 if they want to get this series over with and get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, because they did get a good offensive game from Chet Holmgren tonight. He had 19 points and 11 rebounds, and he was fighting Jokic in there. I mean, Jokic has 29, 14, and 8, and that was it was not a great performance by the Thunder, but they could have survived it under other circumstances. Since last night, he'll give his interviews here in a little bit. He did do the walk-off interview with Katie George, where he said there was no way he wasn't playing in this game, and he was
awesome.
He was wrapping himself in the hot pads during the game. You could tell in his face he wasn't quite right. I saw some people comparing it to the Jordan flu game, and I'd like to pump the brakes on that.
Settled out a little bit. But listen, we've seen, again, look, Jamal Murray has never made an all-star team. We talked about it a lot, right? He's one of the weirder players to sort of quantify who he is in the league. But Jamal Murray is the reason that, and Bob Myers thought said it perfectly on Countdown, he was going to be the reason they won or lost this game. Because when Jamal Murray is playing great, the Nuggets are as good as anybody in the league. And when he's not good and it's just Nikola Jokic, they're a good team, but they're not an elite team. And that's why going back to the start of the season and the end of last year when Jamal was not right, we were wondering, can he get back to the guy he's been in the past, like he was in 2023 when he carried this team with Jokic to a title? If he can play like he did tonight on Sunday, the Nuggets are going to feel really good about their chances. And in that game Sunday, very well could come down to Jamal Murray and Jalen Williams. And if you're a Denver fan sitting here right now saying who's going to play better between Jamal Murray and Jalen Williams in a game 7, I mean, Jamal Murray has done it a lot. So if you're Denver, I think you're going to be pretty confident about that.
So a key moment in this game, an interesting facet about the box score. Jamal Murray played 42, I will call it 43 minutes. Jokic played 41 minutes. Okay. Jokic was plus 11. Jamal Murray was plus 28. Okay. Which is an indication that when Jokic was sitting, that the Nuggets were able to withstand, which is always a huge measure.
Well, and that was those Julian Strawther buckets at the start of the fourth quarter, like that. Right. You know, they'd taken a lead with strong close to end the third quarter. Strong closes to end the second and third were the difference in the game. And then Strawther hit those shots at the start of the fourth. He kept that momentum going. And they ended up giving Jokic 4 minutes off. And I think they were plus 3 or 4 in that stretch.
Yeah.
I think that's right. You know, in game 5, they tried to have Jokic stay out there within the exact same situation. Team ran out of gas late. David Adelman gets him a break. He comes in. He immediately hits a 3. Nuggets push the lead out. Got a little dicey for a minute, but you never really thought that the Nuggets were losing this game. And, you know, it
wins on Sunday. They have to host the winner will host the Wolves. The Wolves are the 6th seed, so they will not be seeing. They were given a beautiful gift of a home court in the second round because of the Warriors' victory over Houston. They've seen their last home court advantage, but
that's right.
Anyway, that will start Tuesday, and then the Eastern Conference Finals will begin Wednesday in either New York or Boston. But in both cases, well, if the Knicks win, they're looking at 4 days off?
5 days off.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days off.
All right. Be a 5th day later, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Wolves are now guaranteed 5 days off, I think. Something like that. So
Wolves are guaranteed almost a week off. They played yesterday and they don't play till Tuesday.
Correct. 6 days. You're right. So that little note. All right. Through the magic of editing, we're about to be joined by Ban McMahon. Okay, we're now joined, but actually not. We're actually joined earlier. And as Bontemps and I speak right now, we don't know what we just said. So we're dumber than we were a second ago.
That's really
Speak
dumb.
for yourself. Speak for yourself.
That right there from Ball Arena before Game 6 on Thursday is Bam McMahon.
Howdy, partners. Nice early tips night out here. Still can't wait for me. I mean, sure, let you two goofballs flap your gums from 2,000 miles away. I'm on the scene. I get it.
Well,
I
the
get
waiting part is the problem.
Howdy, partners.
Don't be the slowest worker of all time.
Howdy,
You could be on the pod.
I hope you have diarrhea from babies.
I'd be happy to wait. I'm not the one doing sleep updates.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well,
yeah, you get to sleep in until that baby wakes up crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
My sleep complaints go nowhere with Bontemps right now. There's just nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. All right. So I'm in New York. I just flew down here. Big anticipation for the Game 6 for Friday night. Boy, Friday night at the Garden, Bontemps. It's a big one. The
latest biggest game since 1999.
I know. I heard somebody say that today. This is the biggest game in 25 years, except for the couple of days ago when that was the biggest game.
Game 7, that'll be the biggest one.
I actually think that in a strange way, the Celtics had a bit of an advantage in Game 5 because they were going to be playing a style that the Knicks were not ready for, prepared for. They had 8 games of data and a certain comfort level about how the Celtics play with Jason Tatum. More than that, if you go back to the last few years, but certainly this year, they played him 8 times. And, you know how Tatum's going to play. You know there's going to be isolations. You know how certain matchups are going to go and switches. And the Celtics played very differently than they normally do. Jaylen Brown played point forward, essentially, more so than he ever has before. He had 12 assists in the game. Now, one of the reasons he had 12 assists was because the Celtics were hot shooting the 3, which they have been generally for the last 3 games. They were ice cold the first 2. They've been much better the last 3. They were 22 of 49 in this game. They make over 23s. Their record is very hard to beat. But that was part of it. But the Celtics isolation game was way down. Their ball movement and body movement was up, and they generated a lot of open looks. And, it was a minor advantage. Of course, if they had gone 12 of 49 instead of 22 of 49, then the Knicks would be in the conference finals. But
I'm not as poorly as the Knicks played. I'm not sure that's true.
Well, at the half, it was tied, and the Celtics were shooting 52% at the half. And I was like, this is not a good sign for the Celtics because the Knicks were not playing that well, and they were tied, and they'd been ahead by a big chunk in the first half. And then Joe Mazzulla made a decision to start Luke Kornet over Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis just flat out looked terrible in the first half. There was some level of belief that he might be better because he played like 24 minutes in Game 4, and he said after the game that he was feeling better than he had. So Mazzulla put him in the starting lineup alongside Al Horford as the replacement for Tatum. He looked terrible. I don't remember what his plus minus was, but it was minus double digits. And Mitchell Robinson was just moving faster than him. He was just running circles around him when he was out there. So they put Kornet in the game, and Mazzulla said that Joe Mazzulla said, it was because Porzingis couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And so when he left the podium, I said to Joe, hey, just so I have it straight, this was a medical or decision, not minus 12 for Porzingis, says Jackson. I said to Mazzulla, I said, just to clarify, while I talk about it on ESPN platforms, this was a medical decision, not a coach's decision. In other words,
right,
you were not benching him. He was removed from the game. And he's like, yes, it was a decision made between Chris Apps and I. He basically was protecting his player, I think. And, even though I think it was a coach's decision, but,
well, it's a combination of the two. I mean, Porzingis, I just feel really bad for Porzingis. I mean, this has been like 3 months now of dealing with this bizarre illness thing. And he was trending in a pretty good direction, and he's talked a lot about it, that he got to the start of the series and just had another one of these crashes and can't get his energy back. And even in games 3 and 4 at the Garden, in New York, where he was better, he still wasn't great. He was making some defensive plays, but he wasn't really giving them much on offense. And I mean, he just clearly didn't have it in game 4. And, look, here's the deal. We're also talking about the Celtics bringing either Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis into the starting lineup off the bench when they lose Jason Tatum. Like, they have an incredible team. So if they went into this series and Jason Tatum wasn't playing, we probably would have said it's a toss-up. Like, Celtics might have been slight favorites to win. Knicks might have been slight favorites to win. I think Boston probably would be slight favorites if both teams were rested at the start of the series. So them winning game 5 is not a surprise. There's a reason we said going into game 5, the series wasn't over, right? So we will see what happens on Friday night in game 6. But I think there was a lot of celebrating here after game 4, not celebrating Jason Tatum's injury, obviously, but thinking, hey, the Knicks have won. They're up 3-1. They're on the verge of making the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. They've got this in the bag. And there's a reason why Knicks fans got very offended when you said on TV and we said on the pod that the series was not over yet. And I think we saw in game 5 why we said it wasn't over yet. And they better take care of business at home in game 6, because if they go back to Boston for game 7, having blown this game, I'm not going to feel very good about their chances of escaping from the series.
By the way, did Luke Cornett make himself some money last night? He was awfully
good. I would say so, except for the fact that Luke Cornett would have made more money last summer and chose to re-sign with the Celtics, and I suspect will be continuing to re-sign with the Celtics. He has figured out that he's got a really good situation in Boston. I suspect he will be playing there for as long as he can play there, and I suspect he will have a lucrative post-playing career in Boston for a long time, because he's a great quote, and I think will be in the media scene in Boston, not too dissimilarly from a certain former Celtic who we all know and love, who is on TV all the time now in Boston. And I mean, look, maybe he goes and plays somewhere else.
What if he's offered significantly more money and a significally bigger role? Because
he's
a solid. He's a hell of a third center. I think he could be a solid second center for somebody. Maybe even a starter.
He's definitely not a third center. I mean, he's one of the better backup centers in the league. I'm just telling you, my hunch is he will be in Boston playing for the Celtics. And look, because he had opportunities, I believe, to go have a bigger role elsewhere last summer and chose to stay. So,
all right, enough Luke Cornett talk. This is a great stat from Jackson. 4th Celtic player with 7+ blocks in a playoff game since blocks became official. Robert Williams, the 3rd, it's not a surprise, had 9 against the Nets. Robert Parrish, not a surprise, 7 against the Sixers in 82. Kendrick Perkins had 7 blocks against the Bulls in the 2009
and they showed the
game.
highlights. They showed the highlights, and
I didn't know he had 7 blocks in his career.
I think Perk requested this be researched, because they showed the highlights on NBA today, and he was very happy to narrate them.
Hold on, were these like because Dirk got a lot of blocks where they were like, it was the swipe down as the guys getting the ball up to shoot it, or were these like getting up above the rim?
There was a time where Kendrick Perkins was regarded as a plus big man defender.
Because he was a beast to post up.
He was paid tens of millions of dollars for his defense. So, but I agree, he wasn't known for blocking shots. He was known for being hard to move, and he got rebounds that way. But yes, he talked about how it was a great series against the Bulls when he did do that. I would say that Cornett is 29. I would say, Luke, get paid, my friend. Whatever
get paid
takes.
while you can, brother.
But
and guess what? They're not going to not let you back in Boston if you go somewhere else for more money.
I'm just telling you what happened. Why are you yelling at me?
I'm not. No, it's fine. I
don't yell at anybody. That's Wendy.
I'm not focused on his contract. He was great. I will be interested to see who Mazzulla starts on Friday. One thing he could do is he could start Sam Hauser. One of the things that did happen in this game, the Celtics, in addition to losing Tatum, they essentially have lost Porzingis because he's 5 of 21 in the series. So they're down in my view, like 2 starters. But one
Two of the
thing,
top 4, I would say.
yeah. And Porzingis is such an X factor. But one positive that they had health wise was that Sam Hauser came back after missing 3 games with a sprained ankle, and hit a couple of threes. I suppose it's possible that Hauser could start.
He could. I thought he might have yesterday. He looked like he tweaked his ankle again in the third quarter.
He was okay post game. He was okay. Half the Celtics are icing their ankles post game. I mean, I don't mean like just doing their feet, like treating ankle injuries. By the way, Jalen Brunson has twisted both ankles.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Like in game 4, he had, what do you call it when you turn your ankle? Most ankle sprains are rolled out. He had one of those where it rolled in.
An innie? Innies and outies.
We're going to let that go. Brunson has turned his ankles a bunch of times and just kept right on churning. This guy, I mean, what a player. But anyway, so we'll see what he does with Cornette. But one of the things that happened here in this series was that Mitchell Robinson, Porzingis was coming off the bench, and Mitchell Robinson has been coming off the bench, and Mitchell Robinson has been dominating. Somewhere near Golden, Colorado, that was bottled. That's a distant reference. Okay. The Warriors season ended on Wednesday night when the Timberwolves had a just kick-ass second half. Just got great shooting. I think they shot like 64% in the second half or something. Ant and Julius Randle both had double-doubles with points and assists. And the Warriors season.
Let's be honest, that series ended in the first half of game 1.
Yeah. Well, they had an opportunity to win game 3, and when that
like I said,
fingers.
It ended in the first half of game 1 when Steph got hurt.
Yeah. Honestly, surprising they won that game. By the way, the Rudy Gobert revenge tour continued. got Luke in the first round, got Draymond in the second round. I don't think anybody from the Thunder Nuggets has been really, really mean to him.
I'll bet they have. We just don't know.
Well, at least not publicly.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, he's just not a popular guy. Anyway,
we all like him though.
We do.
So I will say this: before we talk about the Warriors, the Wolves will reach the conference finals, unlike last year, much more rested than they were last year.
Much more rested, and I think Ant's a better player now. I mean, Ant obviously had a great playoffs. McMenamin wrote a great story though on kind of the evolution of Ant.
Wow, you praising McMenamin is like someone praising Gobert. I mean, that's
well. I suggested the story. McMenamin executed it.
There we go.
But seriously,
we drew it out of him.
But we've talked so much about the Wolves' weakness of being bad in clutch situations and Ant just going hero ball. And man, Ant late in the season, continuing the playoffs, is showing a real good feel for being aggressive, but also making the right play. And when he does that, oh boy, because the man can hoop.
Well, and I think they're just a better
game in the closeout game.
I just think they're a better team. I mean, I would say Julius Randle and Karl Towns are similar level players, even though they're different. And they added Dante DiVincenzo. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker took yet another step forward this year. And it's gotten a little better, like you said. Jim McDaniels has been better. Like they've got a better team. So it's going to be a fascinating series, whoever they play. And, we'll see we may already know who they're playing. We'll see what happens in the game that we're all going to watch in a little bit.
By the way, so much for the theory that Jimmy and whoever can always beat the Wolves. It was one thing in practice against Andrew Wiggins. It's another thing in a game against Anthony Edwards.
That is true. Okay, so the Warriors had so much promise, but they really started messing around late in the regular season. I think they went 3-3 down the stretch, backed into the play-in. Then they were in command position in the first round of the series, first round against Houston, lost games 5 and 6,
mm-hmm.
and played their way into game 7. Now which they won, which is a road game 7 victory, and that's all well and good. But this team needed to be efficient. They needed to be efficient because of the age of their stars, and they needed to be efficient because of the demands on their stars. And look, I have no idea. I just will go back to saying that Steph literally never ran more in any game that we have tracking data for in game 7. And then 48 hours later, he pulled his hamstring.
Well,
so
it's exactly what happened 2 years ago. They had a slugfest series with Sacramento in the first round. They escape with a game 7 win on the road to go into the second round. That year they're playing the Lakers. This year they're playing the Wolves. They're completely out of gas and they lose. Like, yeah, Steph got hurt, which didn't happen then, but that's why you just can't, like you said, you can't give away games in the playoffs
or at the end of the regular season. They
gave away game 5. They just punted that game and said, we're going to go home and win game 6. And then they didn't.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Here's what I would want to know. Jimmy was sick. Steph was not back. Had they won game 5, had they won game 4,
we're not doing.
Well,
we're not doing this. Minnesota is also just better than them anyway.
Let me ask you this. What are they doing with Kuminga? And will they go star hunting this offseason? They got Jimmy Butler. They signed him to a contract extension. Are they going to be content, or are they going to continue to go star hunting?
We know that the Warriors will go star hunting. Whether they get a star or not is one thing. But the Warriors, for the last, going back to when they traded for Andre Iguodala, right? 2013. I mean, they've always been a team that has pursued star players and the entire Joe Lacob era. They're going to do that again. Are they going to get a star player? I don't know. Like, we'll see what they can actually get done. And, the Jonathan Kuminga thing is going to be really interesting. He is an eye of the beholder player.
But a talent that Steve Kerr clearly does not trust.
Well, that's why I said he's an eye of the beholder player. Like, he's a guy who was deservedly not in the rotation up until the moment Steph got hurt. And then he plays the last 4 games. He averages over 20 points in the 4 games. He shot pretty well from the field in the games. He also had a combined.
Why do you say deservedly not in the rotation?
I think if you look at how Jonathan Kuminga played in the last few games, it's indicative of the role he needs to play on a team to be somewhat effective, which is to be a guy who has the ball in his hands. They have Jimmy Butler and they have Stephen Curry. So if you have those 2 guys, they're going to have the ball in their hands. He's not a good outside shooter. He's not a guy that does a lot of the other things. He doesn't pass the ball. He played in these 5 games and had a total of 5 assists, and he had 1 million shot attempts. Like, he's a guy who's going to have the ball and shoot it a lot, which he's a young player. He's a guy that I think is going to be a fascinating restricted free agent if there's a team who believes in him that wants to go after him. But if he's trying to be a 8th player on a team with Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, that's a harder role for him to fit in. And the Warriors have a lot of guys who can be a efficient role player next to stars. That's not the role that Jonathan Kuminga has shown an ability to perform in.
So why was he on the roster after the trade deadline?
That is a very different question.
Because now you've put yourself, he had value then, and you put yourself in a situation where maybe there's sign and trade scenarios that make sense. Bringing him back seems to be unlikely and unappealing, frankly, because he doesn't want to be an 8th man. Like, rightfully, the guy who's going to want to be a starter and a guy who's averaging 20 some odd a game. And you've put yourself in a situation where losing him for nothing is, on the table, if not likely.
Well, I think that's a very big stretch of a statement.
It's not on the table.
There's no cap space.
There's no
cap space.
Okay, so there's one team with cap space. We will see if they want to pay him. He's also a restricted free agent, so the Warriors have the ability to bring him back depending on what the price is.
Why would they match a significant salary for a guy who Steve Kerr doesn't want to play?
For the same reason that they haven't traded him in the past, that they clearly believe he has value. So we will. I think just declaring he's going to leave for nothing is a big stretch.
I said it was on the table, you bonehead.
Well,
he's in a bad mood. You got a big night of work left in front of you. You got to sweep.
I'm still recovering from getting yelled at rudely the other day. I thought we had kind of reached the point of friendship. You guys came to the book launch party, and now I get screamed at for the world to see. What
a wonderful party it was.
It was good.
Such a lovely day.
It was good. We still have been on a plane.
We still got a bunch of beer and booze left. If you guys want to come on back down after the hey, come on down for draft night. Cooper Flag coming to Dallas,
There you go. Be a big night.
Yeah.